Why are you muted? Hello, everyone. This is welcome to CT Politics Live with Joe and Michelle. I am Jimmy J in for Joe Aguirre tonight. It looks like Michelle is having computer issues right now. We have all the latest headlines affecting Connecticut, and our guest coming up tonight at 5:30 p.m. is Dr. Aaron Lewis. Hello, Michelle.
there
I
you
guess
are.
you're back now.
Hey, I am. I thought you weren't back. Let me just let me welcome our guest, Jimmy. So, welcome to Connecticut TV Politics. Welcome to Connecticut Politics TV Live with Joe and Michelle. And tonight for Joe is Jimmy J. How are you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm doing well, thank you. Let's get to the weather. So today was a high of 48 degrees with a low tonight of 32 with clear skies. Tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day, will be just a little cooler with a high of 48 and a low of 21 with sunny skies. It looks like rain on Friday, just in time for Black Friday shopping. But on a serious note, Connecticut Department of Transportation is warning against drinking and driving this holiday season. Drunken driving related crashes spike around Thanksgiving, starting with the so-called Blackout Wednesday, as the nickname would suggest, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It's known as a heavy consumption of alcohol day. According to transportation officials, the reputation is reflected in roadway incident statistics. From 2016 to 2020, more than 800 people died. That's sad. We have to be careful. Be careful on the roads tomorrow. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Jimmy, are you cooking, Jim, or what?
My mother-in-law is cooking, thank God.
Ah, very nice.
Every year I love it. I think I've hosted Thanksgiving once. So
Okay. All right.
yeah,
So
I
you're
don't like it.
not good with the turkey then. Only good at
Actually,
eating, I'm sure.
I am, but I don't like the juggling. I only have one oven. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I don't like having
Right.
to put the turkey in, time that, and then get the green bean casserole in, then get this. I just can't do all that crap. So I'm not going to. My mother-in-law does a great job. It's so delicious all the time. So
There you go. That's
I'll let
perfect.
her.
That's
So
perfect.
you ready for my weather report?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, here we go. The weather will be nice on the day of Thanksgiving. Family, friends, food, and sometimes forgiving. When your bellies are full and you need a nap, don't drive tired. Be a good chap. You could be hyped from the game, win or lose. Don't drive angry, or if you've had some booze. Road rage is real, so please don't be in a hurry. But I guess with no cash bail, you don't need to worry. All right. Real quick. I love
That's
poking on no cash bail anytime I can.
that's
Anytime I like it.
awesome.
All right. You
And,
know what?
and
I
you know
think
what?
we should
I'm
go
sorry.
on.
Since you digressed, I want to digress too, and I want to
Well,
go there. I don't know. Do you remember Pajama Boy? Do you remember when he came on the commercials trying to tell us to convince our family and friends about Obamacare? So on social media, all I'm seeing is kind of a short summary of a political agenda stating that we need to talk to our families and friends about how wonderful the Biden administration is doing. I had to digress there, and it irritates me. Why
I
is Thanksgiving holiday used for such a political agenda?
well, I mean, this is the Democrats. They're going to use anything they possibly can to forward their political agendas.
Okay, all right,
I mean, it's truly despicable to me. Like
it is.
Thanksgiving is not. I refuse to talk about politics tomorrow. I won't do it.
There you go.
All right. I talk about politics all day long.
Right.
Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about my acting, maybe about
Oh,
how I'm doing on the radio, and that'll be it. That's
all
going
right.
to be it.
We'll have to do a show about that.
That'd be great. I think
Awesome.
so.
Awesome.
Speaking
What
of
do you have for us
shows,
today?
yeah, how about we go to the headlines? All right. Number one,
Absolutely.
Senator Murphy receives backlash for Twitter posts calling Qatar's foreign minister his friend.
Ooh.
Now, for some that don't know, Senator Murphy is actually in Qatar right now for the World Cup, and he's hanging out apparently with a foreign minister who is a known human rights abuser and anti-LGBTQ plus member. So the middle. I've been to Middle East. The Middle
Yep.
East does not like gay or lesbians, any of that kind of nature.
Right.
But apparently, Senator Murphy's chumming up with this guy. So I don't know.
Well, of course, of course, all that stuff goes out the window. All that human rights stuff. That's just no. That goes out the window now, right? Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad that we do this. I was actually I was looking forward to the World Cup this year, and I'm so glad that the U.S. is doing pretty well so far. They've tied Wales.
They tied Wales,
and I believe next week they play. Forgive me, I forgot. Yesterday I forgot to. I know they play Iran, but it's pretty exciting for me. I know, Thanksgiving you think about football, but this is fun for me.
It is. I mean, it's getting bigger. It really is.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Football, aka soccer, is getting a lot more popular
right.
in the United States.
Oh, absolutely. So. Absolutely. So Connecticut reduced its debt by 7.4% over the last year. Retirement benefits and bonding programs are down more than 7%, with more reductions coming soon. Connecticut still faces a huge pile of debt, but over the past year alone, it's wiped out more than $7 billion of $95 billion. And Governor Ned Lamont's budget office reported $88.3 billion in long-term unfunded liabilities last week, its annual fiscal accountability report. An omnibus review of the fiscal state trends to help the legislature's budget, writing panels, and prepare for their upcoming General Assembly session. That report doesn't take into account the $3 billion supplemental payment made earlier this fall against debt in the state employee pension system. Governor Lamont has placed Connecticut in a strong position to continue to pay down legacy debt while preventing tax hikes and significant spending cuts in the event of an economic downturn. This was stated by the Office of Policy and Management Secretary Jeffrey Beckham, the governor's budget director. There are global signals of economic softening beginning to take place, he added. We will continue to maintain our current fiscally responsible spending and conservative revenue estimates as we closely monitor the impact and changes in the economy. In other words, debt unfunded pensions will drop again when the December valuation comes out. It just remains to be seen by how much. They talk about, usually after elections, they talk about how the fiscal state of the economy of the state is going, and it's always good.
Always, right?
Yeah, always. And I get it. They need to talk about it. And I just hope, I love how they're paying down the debt. I just hope what they're telling us is the truth. I just hope that they really will be fiscally responsible.
Everybody hopes so, truly. We all hope so, but I can't imagine how responsible we're going to have to we can call these people when they're spending how much on a state pier?
Yeah.
What is it? $87 million is it up to? And that's over, I think, $87 million over the contracted price.
Remember, you're talking about government. Bureaucracy is like it's Nick's nickname. It's ridiculous.
That's right. Oh my God. Yeah. We all hope that they're fiscally responsible. But that's, I guess we'll see that in the next couple of coming years.
As they stated, we'll see when it comes.
Oh my God. All righty. After record spending in Connecticut gubernatorial race, I said that right, questions arise over future spending by wealthy candidates. Connecticut's Governor Ned Lamont campaigned with fellow Democrat outside District 7 polling center at Greenwich High School on Connecticut. And then it was reported that Ned Lamont and GOP challenger Bob Stefanowski spent a record $30 million plus on their campaigns. So essentially what this tells me, Michelle, is if you don't have $15 million in your bank account, You don't even try to run.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know how they tell you want to change policy, you want to do something good, run for office? They don't make it very easy. Believe me,
No,
I'm going to
right?
talk to Dr. Aaron Lewis about ballot access later on. And I was a candidate running for Congress. Great ideas, but no one would listen because I didn't have the money to back it up. You know, I had wonderful people supporting me with $25, $100, $200, but that does not add up at all to millions.
Right.
And so they make it very
Absolutely.
difficult, and it's sad. It's a sad situation. It would be nice if something changed.
I really like this topic. It's a complete bipartisan topic. You can take sides out of it completely, right? Because now we're just talking about class.
Right.
We're not talking, right or left. We're talking about rich, middle, and poor.
That's right.
And we're run by the elites, and elites help elites.
It's funny. That was the first question, after I did an interview with the News Times about running. And, you get in touch with I ran as a Republican. And so as far as the Republican town committees, the first question out of everybody's mouth was, well, how much are you going to raise? Not, what do you do? Where are you from? What are your policies? Nothing like that. It was, how much are you going to raise?
Yeah.
And and it's unfortunate, but this is where it's money, it talks.
Apparently, right? God almighty.
Well, according to reporter Dan Haar, Connecticut's latest surplus heralds end of permanent fiscal crisis. Quietly, with no sweeping declarations, 2 state agencies issued reports late Friday that herald the end of a grim era for Connecticut. That sounds good. The reports showed good news on the state budget front. The regular surplus for this fiscal year has now hit $1 billion, more than double than October. Total as estimates of tax collection are up and spending some areas is down. Let's hope that continues. On top of that, the state's rainy day fund is expected to overflow by $1.8 billion before June 30th. Money from capital gains and dividends that isn't part of the regular spending stream. None of this year's $2.8 billion windfall, building on last year's $5 billion overage, comes as a surprise. Since mid-2020, we've seen a drumbeat of optimistic updates from 2 agencies, the nonpartisan Office of Fiscal Analysis, OFA, in the legislature, and the Governor's Budget Office, known as the Office of Policy and Management, or the OPM. But the new reports also show something we have not seen in more than a decade. Stretching out to at least 2026, the Connecticut's ice grip overhang of liabilities, expenses such as pension payments, Medicaid, and employee retiree health benefits, is finally under control, arguing whether these rounds of employee givebacks were enough. They are having a positive effect on today's budgets. Malloy left Lamont with a rainy day fund of $1.7 billion, up from the goose egg he inherited, although economic growth and healthy tax collection remained elusive. He stated I think we laid the appropriate foundation for what others have been able to execute extremely well. So, it's interesting that, again, we're talking about this is what they state after elections usually, and the economy is doing well. And I think it is doing well. And I'm just hoping it comes back the way people need it to come back, because I know a lot of people are suffering. This winter's coming and everybody's talking about it, the home heating oil and the price of gas and the price of food. These are necessities in people's lives. And so when they're talking about the surplus and, the great economic status of Connecticut, I hope that it trickles down into people's lives.
I couldn't have said it any better myself, truly. You know what? I'm going to save it. We have to take a quick break. So everybody stick around.
CT Politics TV and the Connecticut Taxpayers Union present Unaffordable America with Daniel Kent Newmeyer, Joe Patrina's band Little House, focusing on Connecticut.
Now get yourself ready, go cat go. Ooh yeah.
Entertaining and taking an educational look at nonpartisan issues of affordable living in America.
Born in a land where we wave 'em high.
All points of view are welcome.
And we got blue angels sky. I'm the luckiest guy in America. I'm the luckiest man born in America.
Join the Connecticut Taxpayers Union right now at ctpolitics.tv.
Born in America.
That is our longest break, by the way, just to let everybody know. Yeah,
That's a great
I wanted
point.
to comment on the budget thing, but I just
Yes.
can't. I can't wait. I want to go to the next headline because this is my
No,
favorite
absolutely.
headline of all the headlines that I've had to go through today. Can you tax a cow's? Okay, the article actually, the title actually says burp, but we all know what they mean. So I'm going to say what they actually mean. Can you tax a cow's farts? New Zealand will be the first to try. In a nation with 7 times more livestock than people, taxing farmers for herds' greenhouse gas emissions is a controversial position. I would have to say so. I mean, going green is taking on a whole new level when we're going to
You think?
tax people by how many times their cow
Yeah.
farts. Like, the idiocy of this has reached a stratosphere that I just don't ever want to meet.
How do you
I
even
mean,
count? How do you even know?
this is like a 20-page article, and I read about half of it. So they figured that one cow emits 0.17 or 0.017 units of whatever measurement they use.
Is it methane?
Yes, methane. Thank you. A day. So the number of cows you have times that times the number of days in a year, and that's how much you get taxed. But how ridiculous is that? Like,
I have nothing. I got nothing.
right? This. I was reading this earlier, and I could not wrap my head around
This,
Look,
yeah,
I
we've
want
gotten to
to.
this point.
I don't know. I want to read it. New Zealand
Okay.
has 7 times more residents on 4 legs than on 2. 5 million people in New Zealand to 26 million sheep. Oh yeah, they're gonna tax sheep farts as
Yeah,
well.
of course, of
And
course.
10 million cows. You know what? I don't even know what to say to that.
Exactly.
This is a true headline, everybody. I'm just letting everybody.
Well, I mean, it's gotten so foolish and kind of on the same topic, but a different aspect. I mean, it's a sad situation. They were talking about the Colorado shooter there who shot up the gay nightclub, I believe.
Right.
And they made sure that they used the correct pronouns for the him or her. They use they, them. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is where we've come to.
That's
We
right.
have a killer, a criminal, and we got to make sure we use the right pronouns.
We don't
So,
want
yeah,
to offend him. Don't
God
offend
forbid. God
don't
forbid.
offend the friggin' shooter. That's right.
Yeah, it's a little bit nutty.
Oh my god.
So you had fun headlines. I got the boring state budget headlines. Here we go.
No.
So under the state budget in Connecticut, that's awaiting the governor's signature, bus rides in Connecticut will continue to be free until December 1st, which is a good thing. Hopefully they'll extend that. This would mean 6 more months of free bus rides for people who use the Connecticut transit system. Bus rides have been free since April 1st, when the state suspended bus fares for 3 months due to rising gas prices. It was part of the legislation that also suspended the 25 cents a gallon gas tax. The budget includes extension of the gas tax, the holiday until December, Lamont says. Carl Smith from West Haven says free rides have been a huge help for him. He rides the bus every day. And it makes, it makes it easier. He said, gas is so expensive and I usually take Uber, but since the bus is free, I ride the bus now. From February to April, Connecticut Transit reports ridership on local routes has increased by more than 15% in New Haven, Hartford, and Stamford. I see a lot more people, Z. Gordon states. The bus is at full capacity now, which I feel like is a good thing because people are using the free service and you can't beat that. I mean, these are regular people who live their lives, going to work every day, that are really getting benefit from this, which is great. A single fare is $1.75, and frequent riders say the fare adds up fast. One person says he saves $25 a week riding the bus for free. This should continue. Again, we talked about earlier how all this surplus and all this great economic status in the state needs to trickle down to benefit its people, because again, it's we the people, correct? The government works for us. So
That's right.
I want to
Amen.
see some of this
Where's the lie heap help?
goodness.
Right?
What's that?
Where's the lie heap money?
Right?
Where's that money? Why are we hoarding it?
Yeah, that's right.
In a $1.8 billion surplus? How many people are in the state of Connecticut? Not 1.8 billion. You can give every person in the state of Connecticut $1 million. Here you go, and still have money left over. Guess what? Give me $1 million. I can afford this winter.
What are you saying, Jimmy? Oh,
yeah. No, I'm not saying anything socialist, but I wanted to talk about your transportation budget that you were just talking about there.
Yep.
The budget on transportation. If everybody remembers the fast track that we spent $570 million on. I don't think we can afford to give away free tickets.
Yeah.
We got to pay for this thing, right? And then just to operate this fast track, just to operate it, it costs the state of Connecticut taxpayers $22 million a year.
Yeah.
Just to operate it. I am extremely happy to see that it's being utilized.
Right.
Because when it first came out, I would drive by 6-7 buses at the bus stops, empty, not moving. Right. So we've took a big L. The state of Connecticut has taken a big L on our public transportation systems.
Yes.
I'm happy to give them to give $25 a week because hey, man, that'll help. $100 a month, it's always going to help.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know in the long run it's going to help anybody because we're still got to pay for this via our taxes, and they're going to get raised by Lamont and the Democratic majority to cover all these costs. $22 million a year is not a chump change.
Yeah, I agree. And no, they're not going to raise our taxes. What are you saying? They never do.
That's right. Isn't that what his ad said?
That's right. That's how they always campaign, right?
That's right. I own my own house.
I'm not saying that's going to happen.
I'm assuming you own your own home.
Mm-hmm.
My taxes have gotten raised. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I sit here and I see those commercials, it drives me insane. However, which brings me back to one of my headlines. If you can afford to spin lies and throw it on TV with $30 million, I guess you can do that.
Absolutely. So Governor Lamont, if you're listening, families are struggling. We need help. We all need help, especially the middle class and lower class. We need to really, we need to see the wonders of all the benefits you're stating and you're going to do for us. This is where the rubber meets the road now.
I am not a Democrat. I can't even, it's hard for me to say that word. Did you hear me stammer? I'm not a Democrat.
Neither am I.
But I am a supporter of whomever is in power because I believe even though I have an opposing viewpoint, it's our responsibility as citizens to try to, at the very least, which is probably what I do here, is wish the very best, right? And hope him success because his success means our success as a state here.
Correct. Yeah.
I've always said that, Michelle, and I've always thought that. But when I see him giving his wife's company, those many non-bidded contracts, that for that much money, he's succeeding. My man and his family is succeeding. I'm not.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So-
And it's I don't even know how to explain it. You hear about this, politics is dirty and our politicians lie and they get rich and all this stuff. And it'd be just nice to see one time one of our elected officials actually work for we the people, actually really come down and dirty and see how it is,
You know what would help us out with that? Term limits.
That's yes, I agree. With that one.
We absolutely 100%
Yep.
need term limits.
Yep. Absolutely.
I don't think it'll ever be voted on.
Right.
Every Republican will bring it up. That they'll champion it, but then when it comes right down to it, they're like, do I really want to term limit myself out? And then it never gets brought to a vote.
No, because then you're saying, you're out of a job in 2 or 4 or whatever 8 years. Absolutely.
Joe and I talk about this a lot, actually, right? And I was in the military, and I believe the military structure of term limits is excellent, right?
Yeah.
20 years.
Right.
And if you start at 25, even 30 years old, we put a minimum date. You have to be at least 30 years old because we want some experience. We
Right.
want some credibility,
Sure.
right? And you can go to the age 50. You're still cognizant. You still got all your faculties at age
Absolutely.
50. You're still,
You're still,
able
yeah.
to work and have a career afterwards. And you've been influential for 20 years. Thank you. Time to
For your
move on.
service. Absolutely.
Here's your
Absolutely.
gold watch, right? Because now that takes away a lot of the corruption. It takes away a lot of the money that just keeps rolling in year after year. The influence peddling, which, by the way, everybody does. Every
Absolutely.
politician will do
Yeah.
a smaller scale than the Biden family. However, they're still going to do some influence peddling.
I hate what's happening to our military.
Oh my God.
I mean, our soldiers work so hard and they put their lives on the line, as you know. And I have family members in the military, and what these leaders are asking our soldiers to do with vaccine mandates and kind of, what is it, reading about white fragility and white rage and talking about their sexuality. It's disturbing to me, and it's so frustrating because I don't even know how to put it. These poor guys, what they go through and what they want to do for their country, and then you're going to be putting them through this crap.
You brought this up with me with a minute 15 to go before our next
I'm
break.
so
I can talk.
sorry,
I get to-
Right? I'm so sorry. I know we could go through this whole.
So I talked about this as well. It's a distraction. That's all it is.
Is
And
that
when
right?
you're in the heat of battle, and I've been there,
Yeah.
guys, you can't have any distractions. Zero, zilch. There's a lot of things that I think that shouldn't be in the military that are in the military because of that reason, right? So if you're worried about that person's pronoun when I'm screaming at him to get in a bunker because we're getting shelled, guess what? I just hesitated to make sure I went through the list of pronouns. Well, guess what? Now he's dead.
Yeah.
And the way our military works is we're as strong as our weakest link. So if he's dead, the possibility of me dying just went up exponentially.
No,
The
absolutely.
guy next to me went up exponentially. You see what I'm saying? It's a domino
absolutely.
effect. So it's all it is a giant distraction. It's a shame. Our men and women need to worry about getting home.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely. Oh,
Because there's nothing more important than that. Trust me, guys. I'll tell you that
Absolutely.
right now.
Oh.
Stick around. All right, guys. You are watching CT Politics Live. We're going to take a very quick break here coming up.
Want to have your show on CT Politics?
We'll be back with our guest, Dr. Aaron
Lewis.
Lewis.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Sorry.
Want to have your show on CT Politics? If you produce a show on CT political issues or commentary and want to play it to the world, contact us now at ctpolitics.tv. We'd love to have you part of the team.
We're back. Nice to have everyone back. Dr. Aaron Lewis will be joining us very soon, as soon as we can get on. And Jimmy, I'd love to talk more about the military. I think it's the number one thing that keeps a country, if you will.
Okay. Absolutely. So if you asked me if any of that kind of any political, right, left, center, belongs in the military, and the answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Right.
So
Of course.
I'll give you a little example, and here's a tiny little skeleton in Jimmy J's closet. I was an 18-year Marine. I had 2 more years to go before I could retire with my pension, right? That's it. At 18 years, I'm a gunnery sergeant. I've been promoted up 7 times. I've done my time. I've been a war veteran. I went to combat before then twice. I've been many other deployments. I had a female working for me, and I swore at her one day, which I've been doing my entire career, and I've been doing the year that she was working for me. I would use curse words. I mean, this is the Marine Corps, not the Boy Scouts. Well, today she took offense to it. And all of a sudden now I'm sitting there going, why am I being brought up on sexual harassment charges again?
Oh,
my career was over. It was done.
no, really?
That's it. Because she didn't like the way I talked to her that day and knew the political climate at the time. This is when the Secretary of State, I believe was Hillary Clinton at the time, wanted to take all sexual harassment claims away from the military and bring them to Congress because there was just getting too many of them. I think everybody remembers that time period. So I said, look, I understand the policies about sexual harassment. And if I singled her out, yes, I am a sexual harasser. And I called in 25 other Marines and I said, have I ever told you to go F yourself? And he said, yes. Have I ever told you? Have I ever told you? Have I ever told you? And they all agreed. I'm like, I'm not singling her out. I'm not treating her any differently.
Right.
Done. Dr. Aaron Lewis is on, so I'm going to bring him on right now.
Right. Hey, Dr. Lewis.
How's everything going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Good,
It's another
good.
day.
Right? Another day.
Thanks for joining us here at Connecticut Politics TV Live.
Absolutely.
We've spoken many times, Doctor, about ballot access and the issues that you've gone through as running as a gubernatorial candidate. And I know that you have a lawsuit out there. Can you tell our viewers what's happening?
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're at the beginning of this lawsuit. It's clear that the temporary injunction that we were moving toward was not allowed, but the judge has agreed to hear the case, and so she's definitely open to that, and I'm glad about that. I didn't think that she was going to make a historic move to actually, stop the election, stop the voting process, and and allow it to happen another 3 or 4 weeks later. And not because she could not do it, but the reason why she didn't do it is because of the powers that be. The way that the system is set up, unfortunately, is set up in such I almost call it like a slavery-like system that you only have 2 parties to choose from, even if you do not desire to be a part of either party. In the state of Connecticut, nearly 40% of the registered voters are unaffiliated. And I'll say that once again, just so it'll sink in. 40% of the registered voters in the state of Connecticut are unaffiliated. What does that mean? It means that overwhelming majority of the people do not necessarily identify with one party or the other. So all of the draconian rules that have been set up with regards to ballot access for third parties or petitioning parties, or as our government likes to label things. We call them minor parties, like minorities, right? You know what I'm saying? If you're a minority, that means that you're either Black or Asian or Latino, but you're not a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So you're minor, right? It's the concept. It's the idea. We use these words to put us out, to put us on the periphery, on the cusp of, but we're never a part of the actual process. Why? Because we're always told that we're other than. So, so the third and petitioning parties, which I believe has historically had some of the most tremendous, honest, and good people running in those parties, they're pretty much demonized, deified, and the system does everything in its power to make sure that they do not allow those parties to come to the forefront. So this entire lawsuit is challenging the process as unconstitutional, because that's exactly what it is. And so, when people hear that, they think to themselves at first, oh no, it's not unconstitutional because because we created a process, so that they can get on the ballot. And I say just think about what you're saying. The process for third and petitioning parties to get on the ballot was created by the Republicans and the Democrats. That's the one thing that they've agreed on in the state of Connecticut, as well as most of the country, right? That the Democrats and Republicans made every single rule, wrote every single rule to get third parties on the ballot. And I've said that's as ridiculous as saying that, the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots are going to come together and have a meeting to decide how the New York Giants can win the Super Bowl.
Right.
How stupid does that sound? It's ridiculous, right? But when we think about it politically, we act like it's the most normal concept. They're not going to do anything to try to get third petitioning parties to win. They don't want them to win. They want to control the power dynamic. In the state of Connecticut, we have had a Democratic leadership for nearly 60 or 70 years. They want that to happen for the next 60 or 70 years. The democratically led inner cities have been led by people, both white and Black, many people who were Black historically. In Hartford, Bridgeport, you have Ganem that is there. You've got New Haven, Tony Harp that was there just a few years ago, and so we have overwhelmingly historically led democratic cities. But at the same time, I mean, I don't even have to go far in our past. They are some of the most poorly run cities in the country, in the United States of America. The education system in Hartford right now, there's a superintendent there that is there because of identity politics. She's a Puerto Rican, and that's why she's there. She's not there because she has the qualifications. She's not there because she showed a track record of doing great with students and making sure kids get into technical schools as well as, college, which I believe in both of them, on the same plane, because we need both. That's why we don't have enough plumbers and electricians, because everybody's are PhDs, which doesn't make any sense. But at any rate, she's the superintendent of schools, and lives are being destroyed as we speak. And the reason why she's there, because it's not an educational assignment, it's a political assignment, and it's an agenda by the Democratic Party to continue to make sure that people are suppressed. And we see these things happening. But it's interesting, very interesting, that when it comes to, ballot access, these Democrats over here that not trusted and derided by the Republicans, they come together. Democrats and Republicans come together, and they say, we're going to be in unity on this one to make sure that no one else, gets this seat. We don't mind if we have a Republican in that seat, but we don't want anybody else to.
When I found out that I was going to be talking to you, Dr. Lewis, I went online real quick, right? And I had to do a quick Google search just to remind myself, right? And but I had to read. The Constitution, parts of the Constitution of the United States. I had to read, and I say that and emphatically because of the situation that we're having in New Haven, when 75% of students can't read at grade level, right? Yeah. So the only way forward, and I get asked this a lot, how do we move forward as a country? And it's only one way, and that's education, right? So
Oh,
I had to go
absolutely.
educate myself when I knew I was going to be talking to Dr. Lewis. There is zero mention of two parties in the Constitution of the United States.
Right.
Doesn't mention that there can only be two parties. Doesn't mention anything about voting on the other parties not allowed or how they should be allowed on the ballot. Right? There's nothing in the United States Constitution. This is solely a Connecticut state constitution
Right.
that we're
And
up against.
our founders, stated about that two-party system is going to be a big problem.
Yep.
And what you stated earlier, Dr. Lewis, it's funny because it's so ingrained. They've ingrained it in our minds that people can only vote down party ballot. No, I'm going to vote all Democrat. I'm going to vote all Republican. Even though I don't agree with a lot of the things he or she says, or you know what, they're still a Republican, they're still a Democrat. And this is where we've come to, I think, in this state, in this country, where people just don't vet the candidates. We don't know what their policies are about, or, I'm sorry to say, but a lot of politicians lie. But we can, there's ways to find out about what this politician or what this leader is going to do for us. Their past voting records, what they've done in their life, their occupation, what have you. And there's so many ways to find out about that person, but you know what? It doesn't matter. They're Democrat, Republican.
Michelle, just think about and people that know me either love me or don't like me. I don't know if people hate me yet. I haven't gotten any hate mail, but either love me or they don't like me. That's kind of the dividing line, because I'm going to just tell the truth just like it is. I don't roll any punches. Let's just talk about the incumbent, right? The guy that's sitting in the seat right now. Okay. If you had to give me any qualifications, number one, for his leadership of a state, with which has to do with connectivity to people, how he connected with people over the years, there's really no real track record of him connecting with anybody, right? He wasn't a Cub Scout leader, you know what I'm saying? He didn't run,
Right.
Wolf Pack 33, you know what I'm saying? He didn't do anything. He didn't help little girls to sell Girl Scout cookies. He didn't do anything with education. He didn't give out, a Ned Lamont scholarship, right? Nothing. He did absolutely unequivocally nothing, except one thing. He had hundreds of millions of dollars because he put cable on. Well, he did do something with education. He put cable on college campuses, right? So I guess that's education, right? So when the kids don't want to study, they can watch cable. Right. So that he did do. But we have been, and I like how you phrase it, because we've been brainwashed. We have been completely brainwashed. I mean, it's like Pavlov's dogs. It's almost like a cult. That's the best way I can think of it. Yeah. It's become like a cult that we don't vote for people anymore. We vote straight across the party line. And we don't even care about the integrity of a person. We don't even care about the position of a person, nothing. And then everyone who's trying to do the right thing, either the media does one of two things: either ignores that person so that they don't get any type of, and you know about this, Michelle, so that they get no coverage, or they'll lie and demonize the person. You understand? Right. They'll lie and demonize the person. Those are the only two methods that they have. And right now, because the media is controlled by the far left. I mean, first of all, I appreciate CT Politics tremendously. I appreciate Dan. I appreciate you, Michelle. I appreciate what all of you are doing to keep this message heard and to keep it alive. And I appreciate you all from the bottom of my heart. But then there's a side of me that's deeply saddened that if this did not happen, if Jimmy wasn't here today, if you weren't here, what would people hear in terms of an alternate message? The truth, even if you will, they wouldn't hear anything. Why? Because the media has completely captured the attention of the masses to make people believe that the only thing that's true is what they say, when it's just the complete opposite. That's the only thing that's a complete and total lie. That's a major problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Dr. Lewis, I got to take a quick break, but I'm going to ask you a quick question on the other side. I'm going to ask it to you now so you can maybe prepare for it.
Sure.
What do you say to those people that say other parties can split the major party lines?
There's a spoiler.
Yeah. So that's going to be the question. I'm going to take this break, and we come back. You can answer it for me.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. Stick around, guys.
This is the home of the CT Strategist Report with Daniel Kent Newmeyer. Interviews with Connecticut's top leaders, expert political analysis, news, commentary. Gain the insider's perspective.
Welcome back, everybody. We are talking to Dr. Aaron Lewis, the Libertarian gubernatorial candidate. I asked you a question, Dr. Lewis, about splitting tickets and hurting chances of the major parties by splitting those votes.
Okay, well, first of all, like very, very directly, that whole idea and concept is absolutely false. There's no truth to it whatsoever. But there again, it's a part of the brainwashing. It's a part of the cult process. You know what I'm saying? It's like Warren Jeffries and the Latter-day Saints movement that he that he had and fathered 30, 40, 50, well, actually hundreds of children with 30, 40, 50, 60 women, whatever, right? They were brainwashed. They didn't know anything else. And I'm being so drastic because that's exactly what's happening. They don't know anything else. So we've been spoon-fed that nonsense. People were saying to me that I was going to take votes away from the Republican nominee Bob Stefanowski, right? So here's the false concept, right? So that means that there's no person in Connecticut that wanted to vote for me because I'm me, right? They only wanted to vote for me because they wanted to take something away from it.
Right.
Like those votes were not going to go to him. Like a lot of people that were going to vote for me were going to vote for me. I can show you on my Facebook page where it says that, I didn't vote for anybody. I'm saddened that you weren't on the ballot. I'm saddened that Connecticut did this to you. I didn't vote for anybody. And so what they do is that's how they get their allegiance, their unholy allegiance to the party. That if you don't vote, people, you talk about the intimidation. If you don't vote, for straight across this line, you are no longer loyal to the party. It's like a freaking religion, and you've become an apostate. We kicked you out of the religion because you're no longer going to vote across party lines. So you're not even allowed to do what your conscience or your values or your mind is telling you to do because you have to try to, support the lie that they're telling. There's no
those talking points,
whatsoever.
right? Yeah.
And there's no proof of that. There's no proof.
Yeah,
No,
right,
so
exactly. And, like, you hit it on the head, Dr. Lewis. I was reading this article the other day where it is literally a brainwashing on both sides, right? I'm not going to pick sides on this one, right? But on both sides, if you watch ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, every single show, they say the exact same words.
Right.
They said threat to democracy for at least 2 weeks, every single day on every single show. And they used the exact same phrase. Now that the article I was reading said that has it hypnotic and very convincing, even if it's not true.
Yeah.
Right? So again, and we read a story earlier, if you got the $30 million to run for governor in the state of Connecticut, you might have a chance to win.
Absolutely.
But
what's so sad about that is that really is the barometer by which people measure what they measure. So people are no longer even allowed to think objectively. They can't think, well, this person, has had a school since 2009 and educated over 1,000 kids, right? Did the actual work. They're not allowed to think that way. This person has traveled to 61 countries. He's dealt with foreign affairs in those countries. He's dealt with the health condition in sub-Saharan Africa. He's dealt with the health condition on the continent of South America and Colombia and Venezuela, right? Those things, it doesn't even matter to the people because what they're taught is that this guy has $100 million in the bank or $300 million. He's got $30 million to put into his campaign. Vote for him because he's the nominee by the party. And so what happens is that brainwashing ends up making us completely avoid the truth of discrimination politically. So for example, when we're talking about 1919 and 1920 with the women's suffrage movement, right? When women were given the right to vote. Think about prior to those years, right? 100 years prior, 50 years prior, 20 years prior, the general consensus is that she's a woman. What does she deserve a vote for? You understand what I'm saying? That the brainwashing then said that what do women need to vote for? Even up to this day. I remember in the 80s, I was in high school in the 80s in South Windsor High. And I remember, they talked about, the past people that ran for political office. Shirley Chisholm was the first Black woman, probably even woman. I'd have to check my stats on that or my actual facts behind it. But she ran for president in 1972 out of Harlem, New York, Shirley Chisholm, right? And it made, national news. But think about it, 1987, 1988, I heard my teacher say, yeah, no woman ever going to be a politician, and then they would say stuff like, women have a menstrual cycle. So because of that, if they were president, they'd push the button and we would all die.
Yeah, I remember.
This is what my teachers were saying at South Windsor High, where I graduated from. And I'm 17, 18 years old. I'm like, dang, man, women are that emotional, right? That they're going to be on their monthly period. They're going to push a button to kill their entire,
and nuke the whole world.
Right. And so that's the kind of brainwashing that we were brainwashed with. Why? Because they didn't want women to compete. That's the whole problem. So third parties are under this same, derision and duress because they don't want to give anyone the opportunity to compete. Right.
This is why this country is in the position it's in. Think about this. The voters don't get a choice. They get A or B. That's it. Done. That's your choice.
They get cyanide or strychnine. Drink cyanide or drink strychnine.
There you go. That's a great way of putting it.
That's your choice. You can't even drink Coca-Cola. It might not even be all that good for you. But
exactly, this
is what you got. That's something's insidiously wrong with that picture. And I pray that this lawsuit goes to the Supreme Court. I pray that the eyes of people in Connecticut will open to see that something's extreme, not a little bit wrong, extremely wrong with the system that we are co-signing for. This is ridiculous. This is crazy. We live in a country where anyone who wants to run for public office, number one, should be able to run for public office. There should not be any rules. There should not be this major pushback. It's so funny when we were in court for the temporary injunction, and so my attorney, Attorney Lindsay, she was arguing, and she's a Black woman, an African American woman, so she was arguing on the basis of discrimination, and so the judge wasn't getting it, and I think the judge was a really good person, and really wanting to hear the matter, and I appreciate her for that, but she wasn't getting it. And so she says, well, why is it an unjust system? And so Attorney Lindsay said, because the Republicans and Democrats don't have to do the same thing. And are you understand what I'm saying?
That's great.
If it's a fair system, then all of us, libertarians, Green Party, Independent, Republicans, Democrats, ought to all be out there getting signatures, right?
That's right.
And so if we're the only ones that have to get signatures, then it's a disproportionate system. And to not understand that is ridiculous, but it's also a brainwashing all the way from the federal court, all the way down to the people, or all the way.
So if I can interject, Dr. Lewis, just for our viewers, I also had to get signatures. And so for our viewers to know, they don't realize. So if you get endorsed as a Democrat, you get endorsed as a Republican. But if you want to be the so-called third party, like independent, what have you, libertarian, you need to collect a certain amount of signatures. I mean, usually from anywhere from 3,500 to 10,000, depends on, what you're running for.
Right.
And it's not easy. You're going up to a total stranger, asking for their name, their address, their birth date, and their signature.
And their date of birth.
Yes, exactly. So
very pertinent information. Yeah.
Right. And they don't know who you are. And a lot of people are really cordial, but some of them are like, yeah, no. That's not happening. So why is this a process? Why is this the process they give us?
Well, the Democrats and the Republicans created the process to keep them in power, to make sure that no one else ever has a chance. And that is unconstitutional. It's like saying to somebody, getting ready to run a marathon and you cut somebody's leg off, right? And then say, okay, well, I want you to run this race. And you should be able to keep up with the guys who have legs
with two legs.
It's the same concept, and they don't see it because that's why our country is in such a dire mess.
Yes.
I mean, we are in a mess of epic proportions. And here's the deal, right? I love all people. My particular bent is far more Republican than it would ever be Democrat, because I understand what the Democrats has done and continues to do to minorities all over the United States of America to suppress them and keep them down. They've been doing it for the past 60, 70 years. So I have a very, difficult time understanding why any Black person could actually be a Democrat, or even be loyal to the Democratic Party when it doesn't serve the people. It does, however, serve Black politicians, because Black politicians do very, very well economically. They do very, very well, skimming the cream off the top. But the people that are their constituents are suffering. And I have a real major problem with that. But even with regards to the Republican Party, it's interesting because people that have, or even conservative values, and I much prefer that word, but people that have conservative values really believe that something was going to be different about this election. We live in a very overtly blue state. And what now, had they gotten behind me, right, to make sure that somebody different wins, they would have had a better chance than doing the same old thing. You get what I'm saying?
That's an excellent point, Dr. Lewis.
Awesome.
And we truly appreciate your time in coming on here and talking with us and letting us know how your lawsuit is going. I have one more really quick question. We got about, I don't know, maybe 45 seconds.
Sure.
What are you thankful for tomorrow?
What? Say that again.
What are you gonna be thankful for tomorrow?
Oh man, you know what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for the fact that at this very second, we still live in a country that we can do what we're doing right now, right? I've been to 61 countries in the world, and I know all too well that even the dialogue and discourse that we're having right now, we would be in prison, we'd be handcuffed, or we may even be assassinated. I'm so thankful that we can still do this, and I'm grateful that for that, on a tremendous level. So I'm thanking God for the freedoms that we still have in our wonderful, wonderful country.
Excellent. Hey, Dr. Lewis, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you again for coming on. Yes.
We really look forward to hearing what's going to happen next with the lawsuit. So we'll definitely have you back on again so we can talk about that.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to you both.
Happy Thanksgiving, Dr. Lewis. Thank you very much.
Well, Jimmy, this has been great.
That was awesome.
I want to hear more about the military. Yeah, he's great. And, I've spoken to him at length about this, and he's so passionate about the state, about the people of the state. And he's a great guy. This was fun. Thanks, Jimmy, for joining.
That was a great time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really like doing the show with you, Michelle, because
I appreciate that. Thank you.
We think alike.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoy arguing with Joe and sometimes Dan and stuff, but I think it makes it's a lighter show for me when it's you and I.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Joe and Dan take it easy on me too, a little bit, because I'm a menstruating woman, maybe. I don't know. It's
going to blow up the world. That's right.
Is that what's happening? No, I actually, it's right. It's true. I feel, you feel more comfortable with someone who thinks the same way, that conservative, viewpoint, right? Joe and Dan.
A little more home. So.
Tomorrow, on Thanksgiving Day, I think we're going to have kind of a lighter show. I think all the anchors will be on top, on air, talking about good, bad, ugly, if you will, maybe a little of fun, a little bit of comic relief, a little bit of bantering back and forth. I don't know, but we're
Is
ready
this
for
going to
it,
be
right?
after dinner? Are we doing this after? Because I'm not
I
going to be
believe
awake.
so.
I'm just,
So-
you're just going to see a picture of me sleeping on the couch. I'm just letting you all know.
well, I think we kind of figured that dinner, or lunch, if you will, is like 1 or 2. Then people are like full. They're kind of relaxing until about 7, where they start eating again. So
Yeah.
we'll be back on at 5 p.m., 5 to 6 p.m. And we'll just, I think we're just going to have fun tomorrow. So thank you for joining us here at Connecticut Politics TV Live. Thank you, Jimmy J. And for Joe Aguirre, I'm Michelle Botello. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
CT Politics, we're cutting out the political bull. Yeah, I guess that about sums it up. Join in the fight now. Go to ctpolitics.tv to join the Connecticut Taxpayers Union.